Sean Farrell scores his first NHL goal, but the Habs get smoked by the Panthers at home. This is both a good and a bad thing, and we'll be getting into all that on this edition of Habs Digest. Hello, bonjour, ahoy, and welcome to today's game reaction edition of Habs Digest. I'm your host, Josh Gosse, alongside my co-host, Jesse Poirier. And a reminder, guys, we're only like 40 subs away from 4,500. So if you haven't hit that button yet, and you just noticed that it's still red, just click it. Help us out. We'd really appreciate it. Let's just get right into this game recap, because I'm just glad it's over. That game was just kind of sad as the Florida Panthers come out with a season sweep over the Montreal Canadiens. And at this point, Jesse, it's looking like Montreal might be the reason Florida makes the playoffs. Montreal might have shot themselves in the foot with that draft pick. They're just helping Florida out. Good and a bad thing, like I said in the intro. The Panthers get the win and their pick gets worse, but the Habs stay solidly in that 5th overall draft pick spot. What are your just overall thoughts on the impact of that loss from Montreal? And I don't know. To me, it just felt like they just got dominated by a better team tonight.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't our best effort tonight. Definitely, not too many shots on net as we would like. I definitely do think injuries do play a part. I don't want to blame it all on that, but it is a huge factor. Missing some key guys like Savard, like having Dach out again, definitely hurts us quite a bit. At the same time, a couple bright spots to definitely take away from this. But at the same time, Florida just seems to have our number this year.
Yeah, for sure. It felt like Florida had something to prove. Maybe all the people saying, oh, look at them when they were lower in the standings, the Habs are going to get 2 lottery picks, and maybe every time they play Montreal, they're like, nah, we got to beat these guys, and they sure did. Matthew Tkachuk with the hat trick, the 4-point night. He has 8 goals, 5 assists in 4 games against Montreal this season for 13 points. So the Panthers just dominated Montreal straight up. I mean, Monty had a good game, tried to keep the Habs in it, but let's focus on some of the positives. Sean Farrell opens the scoring in the game less than 2 minutes in with his first ever NHL goal, which is super exciting because there was some news about Coach Marty, maybe like why was he upset with Kent Hughes forcing Farrell to play. Those rumors out the window. Farrell was getting time on the first line later in this game, gets what is definitely not the prettiest first NHL goal you'll ever see as he just kind of fires in from a bad angle and it bounces past Alex Lyon, the young goaltender for Florida, and gets the goal. He was pumped. He got some family in the crowd. Jesse, what do you think you saw different from Sean Farrell tonight versus his NHL debut? Because I thought there were a few things, and I thought he looked much, much better.
Yeah, I really liked him tonight. It was nice to really savvy play on that first goal. I think he saw, even though it was a really greasy first goal, he saw a little bit of daylight and kind of squeaking it in there. So he's kind of showing his intelligence as a player. But I think the most important thing for me, Josh, that I really liked from his game tonight was his zone entries. And I believe it was just in that first period, I believe they were showing the stats, like it was 4 zone entries that he had where he was carrying the puck himself into that offensive zone. So that's a skill that is really desired right now in our team because we don't have a whole lot of that. And that's why our power play has often suffered this year, is this our lack of effective zone entries. So what I've really liked and a big takeaway from me from tonight's game is that Sean Farrell is going to be really good on the power play in the future. And he's single-handedly going to have a great effect, on our efficiency with this, just from his ability to be able to enter the zone with the puck and get set up.
That's a very, very good point because we've said a lot on this show, like when Mike Matheson and Kirby Dach, who are the two probably best guys on the team right now at zone entries, maybe Josh Anderson, Suzuki behind them. But when Dach and Matheson look like they're about to go into the zone, they rarely get knocked off the puck, and they at least start a possession. And the fact that Sean Farrell is doing that at his size, to me, is very, very impressive. And you're right. His decision-making and his intelligence certainly seem like they've got better. The one big thing I noticed is that when I did the game recap against the Flyers, I said that Sean Farrell looked like he was kind of just getting tossed around, right? He was going for board battles, getting knocked down, but tonight, not the case. He was getting hammered up against the boards. People saw this small little target and they went after him, but he was fighting, he was holding his own, and it's weird that in just like one game, it felt like his use of his size got so much better. I don't know if Galley took him into the corner and said, here's how you do it, man. But no, it worked really well. And speaking of Gallagher, let's just speak a bit about him. He thought he got credit for that final goal in the game there when Montreal actually breathed some life into the building. They were down 4-1 and they scored on an empty net, empty net plus power play, so a 6-on-4. It was tipped by Raphael Harvey-Pinard, who scored his 13th of the season. But that line there, Jesse, it was Evans, Gallagher, and Harvey-Pinard for most of that game. I thought they were clicking really well, and all three of them were really, really showing some potential together.
Yeah, it was really nice to see that combination of Gallagher and Evans get promoted this game onto that second line. Along with Jake Evans, I think it's a really good fit. I think it just kind of flowed well. I wonder if we're going to see more of Farrell and Suzuki in the future, which just kind of naturally flowed well. But what I like about this is we're kind of building for next year and what the roster is really going to look like. And this is a line that I could really see really playing well together. I really like their effort from all three types of players. They're really, those blue collar type of players, which I really love. And you see them finding success at the end of the game, right? Where HP is getting a great tip once again, showing those great hands. But then with Gallagher in front of the net, I mean, not too much chance for the opposition's goaltender, right? When you're getting a tip and a screen in front of the net by two different players. So two levels of screens essentially on that. So, I mean, some really great chemistry, and nice to see them get rewarded with that at the end. And nice to see the team kind of take shape of what it might look like going forward.
That's a really good point. This team is going to look very interesting come next year. I think Harvey-Pinard at this point has all but solidified his spot in the lineup. Excuse me. But yeah, well, one thing you mentioned there, and I wanted to mention this as well, is the fact that the Habs, when they put the shots on, they had people screening Lyon, they got a goal. And the thing is, Alex Lyon only has, 2 NHL wins? Not maybe more than that. I don't remember. But he's really not played a lot this year. He got a win against Montreal earlier this season. Got a big win against the Leafs last night with 40 save performance or something. But he looked, as the announcers were saying, gettable in tonight's game. He didn't really look like he had full control of the game. There were some holes in his game, of course, especially after that early goal from Sean Farrell. You looked like you could almost abuse that, but the Habs, I think they only had something like 15 shots going into the last few minutes of this game. Do you think that was more, again, like the Habs, I guess, having some injuries, having these mismatched lines, or do you think it was more Florida keeping to the outside, or maybe a mix of both? Because to me, it just felt like the Habs could not get anything towards the net at all.
That's it. I think the Florida did a really good job of forechecking, but we kind of got away from, some of the things I've been noting are keys to success of late, and that's driving play to the front of the net. And you saw when we did score that late goal, it's definitely having that traffic front of the net. It's really no secret, right? That's how you have success, as Florida showed tonight as well, with Xhekaj having a great night, kind of capitalizing of some of those loose pucks in front, a little bit of blown coverage, at times. So that's really the difference. Florida was kind of winning some of those one-on-one battles, and that's it, kind of exploiting a little bit of our inexperience on some blown coverage in any way. So a little bit of the key differences tonight.
Yeah, the blown coverage was a pretty constant theme. I mean, even that first goal by the Panthers, that first Anton Lundell goal, it was off a rebound, but the amount of times this season that the Habs have just kind of watched a shot go to the net and not looked at who's around them and allowed a rebound goal on the other side is kind of insane. It's something that's definitely needs to be shored up before next year. Not everyone makes those mistakes, but hey, I mean, I guess you take it, especially with the tattered decor and someone like David Savard, who's excellent defensively, blocks a ton of shots. His presence would have been very useful tonight, especially to counteract Radko Gudas, but Joel Edmundson decided to play that role. One other guy, though, I wanted to talk about in the Habs defense is Mike Matheson. We talked about him a bit, but Jesse, the offense that he creates, in the third there, he went through about 4 Panthers before getting into the offensive zone and reverse hitting Mark Stahl to the ground. Now, to be fair, Mark Stahl didn't exactly get blown up. He's a big guy, but Matheson knocked him down and kept a good zone entry after that. Plus, he gets the assist. He took the shot that RHP tipped into the net. Every game, I feel like it's weird. Isn't it so weird to say that our defenseman is the one who often gives us a chance or creates a lot of momentum with a rush? He does what Josh Anderson does in a lot of ways, but maybe with a little bit more finesse.
Yeah, he's an absolute workhorse on the ice, and I'm just so surprised that he can keep up this high level of consistent play, playing this much just every night. We're really relying on him so much. He's coming through. He's shown a lot of resiliency since coming back through injury, just to stay healthy, keep in the lineup, because we definitely need him. But no, it's a definite big bright spot just to have him playing so well right now. And you can just imagine once we start to kind of complement him with a couple more seasoned defensemen and as we start to mature, just that our decor is going to look real nice as a result.
Yeah, for sure. There's really only one more thing I want to talk about, and I kind of wanted to avoid talking about this, but Anton Lundell's second goal that made it 4-1 for Florida. Like we said, the Habs breathed some life into the game, went down 4-1. They scored an empty net, well, not an empty net goal, a goal with the goalie pulled. You gotta wonder, Jesse, that Nick Suzuki play, where he's the one trying to exit from his own defensive zone. He's right in between the two circles, right in front of Sam Montembeault, and he tries to go between Anton Lundell's legs, something he never does. Suzuki is such a solid player that really doesn't often go for these fancy dekes around defenders. For some reason in his brain, it just said, hey, let's do this crazy thing. Lundell just takes the puck, has a wide open breakaway, and puts it in. That killed any momentum that Montreal had. Not something he ever does, but man, how do you think that shifted the momentum of this game?
It really shifted it quite a bit, because what I was looking for in this game was really how Montreal would react. Would they still keep fighting the whole game long, even though they're losing? That's been a constant theme. It's just still fighting no matter what, but that definitely took some wind out of our sails. Definitely an ill-advised move from our young captain. It's a move to be pulling in the offensive zone. Definitely, you don't want to be doing that almost never, in your own defensive zone. Definitely getting burned, in Suzuki's defense. Anton Lundell's a very good young hockey player. He's going to have a great NHL career. So tough on that, Florida's style of play, definitely, bearing some rewards there at the end. But I think Suzuki will learn from that, and it's not something that he does very often.
No, it's not. I mean, he was angry at himself immediately. I think it's just one of those things, you make a decision that you can't even figure out why you did it. And unfortunately, it cost the Habs. But I don't think they were coming out with a win tonight anyway, as they keep on Team Tank, stay in that 5th overall draft selection. Looks like that's where they're going to end out the year. But hey, there's still a number of games left. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But that'll do it for this game reaction edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Help us hit 5,000 subs. By some point in the offseason, we really, really appreciate it. We're almost there, so hit that button if you haven't already. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.